Hi, I'm Halftime Hugh. So the Detroit Pistons, they're obviously the laughing stock of the NBA this year. They've had the worst losing streak in NBA history of 28 games straight, but they're not really that bad on paper, especially not in the early parts of the year when they had Bojan Bogdanovic on their roster. In fact, especially with the way Jordan Poole's playing, they should not be the worst team. They should at least be having a 20 to 30 game winning season, but they're not because this organization is screwing them over. Obviously, coming into the season, you have some young talent in Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, and a rookie that has a lot of potential in Asar Thompson. Vets like Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, Monte Morris, Joe Harris. And all this should look really good. And it looks really good on paper, but they can't get it going. And here's what happened. So, Bojan got injured before the season started, so they were missing him for the first few games. That's understandable. That definitely contributed to the 28-game losing streak. But beyond that, some of the coaching moves that Monty Williams just made were awful. He was good coach in Phoenix, but here in Detroit, he's just screwing stuff up. You can't start two centers. It doesn't matter if your power forward Bojan is injured. You're starting two traditional centers, but in this modern day NBA, it's fast paced and centers are slow and big and they run in the paint, especially against teams like Indiana that run 5 spread offenses and can just score the living daylights out of you. The Pistons just can't keep up with Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren in. Yes, Isaiah Stewart shoots threes. He's not as traditional as Jalen Duren, but Isaiah Stewart should just be a backup for Jalen Duren. Between the two of them, they're not fast enough to fit this modern day NBA. And then Jalen Duren, a young talent with lots of potential at the center. Even though these traditional centers don't really fit the game, his athleticism is what keeps him there. He started the season off great. That is why they won 2 out of their first 3 games. And I think this guy is a future all-star. Maybe even all-NBA. This guy has got lots of potential, but he was inconsistent. He got injured. He's had a few good games here and there, but for the most of the season, he's just been kind of like a little mediocre. Although it is better than his rookie season and he's shown a lot of potential. But moving on from the 2 center thing, Monty Williams made an even worse coaching mistake. The worst one that has no explanation. At least with the 2 centers in, okay, Detroit doesn't really have a traditional power forward at the start of the season, so okay. Maybe it was okay to start Isaiah Stewart. You didn't have many options. But Killian Hayes as a starter, an unathletic just guard who should be a backup. But no, Monty Williams makes him a starter and puts the young Jaden Ivey, who has lots of potential, on the bench. To make things even worse, he puts Killian Hayes at the point guard, making Killian Hayes run the plays instead of Cade Cunningham, who should really be running the plays because Cade Cunningham is the star on this team. So this screws things up further. And with that starting 5 of Killian Hayes and 2 centers in at once, you're not going anywhere, which is why the 28-game losing streak started. And then to make things worse, when Bojan came back from his injury, instead of benching Isaiah Stewart and making their lineup a little bit better, he puts Bojan at the small forward and benches Asar Thompson. He was like, it's not working. That's good. We want to lose. Stupid. And then later on in the season, they finally got rid of Killian Hayes. And now Jaden Ivey is a starter like it should be. And you have Marcus Sasser at the backup point guard. And now things are going a little bit better for the Pistons. But they should have won some of the games that they lost in those 28 games because of pure stupidity. And beyond that, Detroit also has some problems further up in the organization above the coaching, which is just trades in general and free agency. I'd say a big mistake a few years ago was drafting Killian Hayes. Tyrese Halliburton was the best available player in the draft at that point, and everybody knew it. And Detroit needed a point guard. It's almost as if Detroit decided, wait, if we draft Tyrese Halliburton, we're actually going to start winning. We can't handle the stress and pressure of that. Like, what if we actually become a good team? No. We got to keep ourselves bad, so we're going to draft Killian Hayes. Like, come on, for goodness sake. And then at the trade deadline, okay, it's good to get rid of Bojan, even though he's a great player, just because you need to rebuild. with young players. And Bojan is definitely not young. He's had a long career. Getting rid of him, Alex Burks, and Monte Morris were good moves. But something that Detroit shouldn't have done that they did is in the trades, they got back veterans. And you're trading old veterans for more old veterans, just worse old veterans. Like Evan Fournier should not be there, especially taking on his $17 million contract to play 5 minutes in a game. Like, what is this? Quentin Grimes? I mean, he's not that old, but I don't think he's a key player that the Pistons need. Like, signing Shake Milton, getting him in the trade for Monte Morris, not a great look, especially since Shake Milton left after that. And the trade with sending Marvin Bagley, one of the players who is actually doing good for you guys this year. He was putting up some great numbers, even though he's obviously a bust for the second pick in the draft. He was playing good, and you trade him to Washington for 2 old, washed-up veterans in Danilo Gallinari and Mike Muscala. Neither of them really played for you. You waived them both, and you also gave away a future second-round pick in that trade. Why the hell would you do that? Do you want to stay bad? Do you want to be laughed at to get attention? Come on. And then beyond that, Simone Fontecchio for Utah, getting him, that was good, because he's a young player with potential. But the rest of these guys, it's wild. Doesn't make sense. Now, the Pistons have screwed themselves over from this season. They are eliminated. They are being laughed at. They are competing with Washington to get the second worst record in the league. Detroit should have a good pick in the draft this year. Like, worst case, they'll get the 6th pick, and even then they should get a top 4 pick. Detroit really has to do something. They really gotta make a good draft pick. Nikola Topic, in my mind, is the best player from this draft that is upcoming, but he's not a really good fit for the Pistons, so they gotta draft someone like Ron Holland or Matas Buzelis, someone who's got a lot of potential and who could really help them offensively. A power forward would be best. That drafting a true power forward so they can bench Isaiah Stewart would probably be the best thing they could do this offseason, besides trading away Evan Fournier